Good morning to you, and thanks for joining us here on your Thursday on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Alicia Lewis. Let's get to your headlines. New video this morning showing the destruction of a deadly Russian drone strike in Kyiv, Ukraine. Ukrainian officials say at least 8 people are dead and dozens more are injured in the deadliest Russian strike against Ukraine's capital in 9 months. Ukraine's emergency management said 13 locations were hit, including residential buildings and, quote, civilian infrastructure. In a social media post overnight, President Trump posted Vladimir stop, calling on the Russian president to end attacks on Ukraine and agree to a peace deal. Well, there's a verdict in the second major RICO trial in Minneapolis centered around the Hayes Street Gang. Dantrell Johnson, Gregory Hamilton, and Keon Pruitt were found guilty for their roles in the murder of 29-year-old Darrell Wells Jr. The 3 men were charged with the conspiracy law that was used to take down the mafia. In the trial, prosecutors argued that the men committed murder for the benefit of their gang.
These defendants are not only gang members participating in a criminal enterprise whose main purpose was to hunt and kill rivals. They were also cold-blooded killers.
After former U.S. Attorney Andy Lugar initiated the strategy to charge street gang members with RICO charges, crime stats show that crime in North Minneapolis has dropped to within pre-pandemic levels. This morning, Republicans and Democrats reacting overnight to Governor Walz's State of the State address after pledging to protect Minnesota from the, quote, chaos that he says President Trump has unleashed on the world. By far the biggest round of applause from almost everyone in the chamber came when the governor addressed fraud, saying that the state is doing more to prevent, investigate, and punish those who are committing fraud. Republicans say it's something that should have been done long ago.
We've made strides in catching the bad actors, stopping their schemes. We've sent a lot of crooks to prison, but we can do more. Minnesota should have a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to misuse of taxpayer dollars and theft.
For 6 years under his leadership, fraud has gone unaccounted for. There's been no accountability whatsoever within his agencies. And to know that he is finally taking that serious, I have to think that is because of Republicans pushing.
The governor also touting his hopes for the state budget this year. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle will need to work together to pass a budget deal by May 19th to prevent a special session. Let's give you a live look from St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City this morning, where thousands of people are gathering again to wish a final goodbye to Pope Francis. The Basilica open all night to allow those who want to see the Pope one last time the chance to do just that. The line stretching from St. Peter's Basilica winds through and around its famous square. Thousands waiting for hours just to spend a few seconds inside. Those visiting Francis say those few seconds are worth it.
Walking in, it's such a surreal place, and it's very holy, and seeing the body and just remembering everything that he stood for is very important.
He's somebody very close to our hearts, somebody who made the church very accessible to everybody and inclusive to everybody, and like a family member for us. Yeah.
And he taught us all how to be Christians and to be human, and we want Pope Francis II now.
Francis will have a public funeral on Saturday before being buried in Rome's Basilica of St. Mary Major. Meantime, 135 Catholic cardinals in the highly secretive meetings known as the Conclave to decide who among them will be the next pope. Minneapolis city leaders are laying out new plans to double down on safety this summer. Minneapolis police are looking forward to this summer because of how dramatically violent crime is down right now across the city. Murders are down 67% compared to the same time last year. Shootings and carjackings are down 33%. MPD leaders credit in part a program that they call RAPID, which uses an analysis of crime hotspots to try and prevent gun crimes before they happen. Assistant Chief Katie Blackwell told the City Council that they plan to continue this so-called risk terrain modeling into the summer, expanding it to more precincts as a key part of their summer safety plan.
So we recognize operationally our strategies that RTM is a tool. It doesn't itself reduce crime, but it's how we use it. So officers are expected to commit to one 15-minute patrol, a high visibility patrol throughout the day of their shift, putting their police lights on, getting out, engaging with community members and business owners.
MPD started piloting this program in the 1st precinct, which includes downtown. They have been trying it out so far in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th precincts as well. A warning this morning from Minnesota health officials: do not eat fish from certain lakes. That's after they found dangerous forever chemicals in fish across the state, including some right here in the Twin Cities metro. Our Ian Russell has more.
Every time I get a chance, I go fishing. So I pretty much been fishing all my life.
On a day like this,
A lot of action right here.
you wouldn't find Travell Moore anywhere else.
I like the rivers. I feel like the lake's kind of too easy, The river a little bit more challenged,
A challenge.
Yeah, I probably won't eat nothing, But it all depends,
Now adding another layer.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people catch and keep the fish.
Moore says he usually catches and releases here. Good news, considering a new warning from the Minnesota Department of Health.
They know not to eat anything out of here. This is a Minnesota river. I hear people all the time like, don't eat stuff out of Mississippi River,
Across 10 Minnesota counties, MDH now warns people not to eat the fish they catch, or at least eat in moderation. It's not every body of water in those counties, though, but includes places like Bedeh-Makaska, Lake Harriet, and the stretch of the Minnesota that Moore is fishing.
In 10 counties where we found that the PFAS is the most elevated in the fish that we've tested.
Angela Primesberger is the fish consumption guidance lead for MDH. She says those PFAS or forever chemicals can cause health effects if you're not careful, which is why they're warning you to check your waterway on their website before you eat the fish that you catch.
We would like people to choose to eat fish in other places to help as one means to keep lower your exposure to these chemicals.
That log right up there make it real difficult.
Back on the water, Moore says he'll keep that in mind and tell others about that warning too.
It was just going under.
Especially as people keep eating what they reel in.
I say for like a week now, and every single day I came out here, I seen people with a stringer, keeping their fish. So yeah, they definitely do.
Great reminders there. Now, you might also see some signs up telling that it's not okay, or it is okay to eat the fish that you catch. The Department of Health is working with the Minnesota DNR to post signs on those bodies of water with those fish that say do not eat. Well, buses are now running instead of Blue Line trains between Fort Snelling and the Mall of America. Those changes started at 10 o'clock last night. Crews are completing a scheduled maintenance there, which is going to take a few weeks. And this also means that the light rail shuttle between the airport terminals is not going to be available. Metro Transit says riders should plan for trips to take a little extra time. Normal service is set to resume on May 14th. Well, hey, a huge night for Minnesota sports fans as the Wild bring Game 3 of their wild card playoff series against Vegas to downtown St. Paul. And if they win tonight, I should say when they win tonight, they're going to take a 2-1 lead against the Vegas Golden Knights. Our Audrey Russo's at the X with everything you need to know if you're watching the game in person or at home.
Which player on the Minnesota Wild will get the honor of receiving the hard chain at tonight's game here against the Golden Knights? Who knows, but we do know that Game 3 is going to be electric, and it all goes down at 8 o'clock. Gates open 90 minutes before puck drop. Looking at Ticketmaster, there are still some seats available. $110 is pretty much what I could see in terms of the price of entry on the lower end. It only scales up from there up to $400, $500. Parking could get messy, especially with draft party events, Timberwolves watch parties. The River Center and Kellogg parking ramps are first come, first serve here in St. Paul, so you're going to want to get here early. If you don't want to drive, there is a designated rideshare drop-off along Kellogg. The green line of the light rail also drops you about a 10-minute walk from the X. And if you can't make it down here to the X, there are other options. Tom Reed's Bar is having a watch party. You can also watch the entire game from the comfort of your own home on the FanDuel Sports Network North and on TBS. Back to you.
Gotta pack the X. Well, hey, all morning long, all eyes on the Vikings, too, and what they're going to do with their 24th pick in tonight's NFL draft. Very exciting times. Red Cheese in Green Bay right now, where the first round kicks off at 7 tonight.
We made it to Green Bay, and you can see Lambeau Field behind me, but the street in front of Lambeau Field is actually shut down because you'll probably see in the distance behind me the NFL draft stage is already set up and ready to go. And I asked the Athletic Vikings beat writer Alec Lewis if Kwesi's extension could be tied to his success in this draft.
At owners' meetings in West Palm Beach, the beat writer spoke to Mark Wilf, who's obviously one of the co-owners of the organization. He was pretty definitive in responding to a question about Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's lack of extension. He said, you know, we want to get it done. It's a priority for us. Until that deal gets done, it's going to raise questions. To find guys in this draft who could be instant impact players would be a nice boon for Kwesi Adofo-Mensah in terms of inspiring confidence from the fan base, inspiring further confidence from ownership.
Great stuff from Alec there. Well, we will have plenty more coming your way here in Green Bay from the NFL draft all throughout Thursday as we find out what the Vikings do on night one. It should be a lot of fun here at Lambeau Field. For now, in Green Bay, Reggie Wilson, KARE 11 Sports.
A lot going on. Hey, be sure to stick with us. We got more news and weather coming up after the break.